teaching Gabe that life is all about enjoying the journey and not just the destination. It's the same in my kitchen. Just go with the flow. Let me share a secret recipe.
This will set you free.
Discover an ingredient that fires your imagination.
Let your instincts speak.
Choose other flavors to match.
In the pantry.
Find the best way to cook them.
Simple is best.
My secret recipe? Cooking without a recipe.
You can do it too. You can do it too.
I've cooked for kings, queens, presidents, for guests all over the world. But without a doubt, the toughest critics I've ever had at a table are kids. Gabe's 2 years old. He's got a pretty adventurous palate. Most days he'll eat anything, but some days he won't. Tonight his little friend Sophia and her mom are coming for dinner. Am I worried? Nah. They all like simple food just as much as I do. Chicken thighs, one of Gabe's favorites. He loves these. He loves their texture and the flavor. And it's true, chicken thighs have a whole lot more flavor and texture than regular chicken breasts. Now, I always start with chicken thighs by browning them off. I'm not sure what flavors I'm going to throw at these today yet, but I know I want to brown them off. Start building some nice roast caramelized flavors. I've also got some chicken broth that I made earlier today. Hey, I'm going to make soup out of this for my lunch, but, you know, I think I'll use some of it with the chicken thighs, too. I think that's warm and ready to go. Now, of course, chicken thighs have a lot of their own fat built right into the skin, so you don't need too much oil to get things going. They'll start to render a bit, they'll brown up nicely once they release their own fat. Always a good idea to keep your hands clean when you're working with raw chicken. Let's see how these are doing. Now that's my favorite color right there, golden brown. The French actually call it doré. Hey, bottom line, when you see that, you know it's going to taste good. Well, these finish browning off, and while I figure out what flavors I'm going to toss in there, I've got time to whip some lunch up. And with this chicken broth simmering away, I've got almost everything I need to make a quick and easy chicken soup. I also like chicken soup because it's a great way to throw new flavors at Gabe. All you need is a good tasty broth and some stuff floating in it, and anything in here will float in a good chicken soup. Pasta's great in chicken soups. Lots of texture there because all soups are about contrast. Lots of different flavors, colors, textures. A little chew there. I've also got some spinach today. That'll be just the thing. So I'll just slice the onions, top them off with chicken broth, toss in some pasta. When the pasta's done, throw in the spinach, and I'll have chicken soup. It's that simple. Splash of oil. Of course, the onions are an opportunity to build a little caramelized flavor into the soup, too. I'll just stir those for a minute until they lightly brown. And now that those onions are brown, I'll simply top them off with some chicken broth. I might as well make enough for a couple of bowls and some leftovers. Hey, there's no such thing as too much chicken soup. Now I'll just toss in some pasta. I'll let that cook off. It'll be done in 4 to 5 minutes. Nothing to it. And while I wait for that pasta to cook, it looks like those chicken thighs are ready to go. So because the chicken thighs have released all their fat now, there's quite a bit more in there than I actually want to serve for dinner. So I'm just going to pour it off and get rid of it. Out come the chicken thighs. They've done their work. They're nice and brown. They're ready to move on. But just look at this pan. See all those brown bits down there? That's flavor. And it's easy to get that flavor right off of that pan. I've got just the ingredient to suck it up. mushrooms. Now these are by no means a guarantee for Gabe. He'll eat any green vegetable I throw at him, but mushrooms on the other hand, well, these are a bit advanced for his palate. Sometimes he'll touch them, most times he won't. And that's why I'm picking them today, because hey, when I sneak these in with those chicken thighs, he just might go for it. There we go. Now today I'm using cremini mushrooms. These are a beautiful brown skin version of the standard white mushroom. Actually, when this mushroom grows up and matures, it turns into a portobello mushroom. And as all the moisture in the mushroom starts to come out into the pan, all that fond will dissolve. Next thing you know, the mushrooms will taste like chickens. Then I'll put the chicken thighs back in. I'm well on my way to dinner here. To finish off my soup, I'll simply toss some spinach in. Spinach is one of Gabe's favorites. He loves anything that's green. Chicken soup. It's not just for kids. Hey, I know something else that'll get Gabe's attention. It's funny how intimidating cooking for kids can be. You never quite know what they're going to do with their dinner. The key is definitely simplicity, but that doesn't mean I can't experiment with flavors a bit. Now, to finish off these chicken thighs, I'm simply going to toss them in with the nice brown mushrooms. There we go. Add some liquids. I've got some beautiful homemade chicken broth standing by. Just a couple of ladles there. Just want to get some moisture in the pan. I've also got some red wine. It's perfectly okay to cook with wine when you're feeding your kids. The alcohol in the wine is going to boil off. Not 100% of it, but 99% of it is going to be long gone. Okay, bring this back to the simmer. I'm going to pop a lid on there as well. But before I do, of course, I've got a couple of bay leaves. Now that's a flavor Gabe already knows. It appears in lots of my cooking. It adds a nice, rich, savory edge to just about anything. Now I've got another trick up my sleeve, because if Gabe eats all his mushrooms today, he's going to get a brownie for dessert. I want to share them with you. Dark chocolate, sugar, the butter, vanilla, the amounts are easy to remember too. 2 sticks of butter, an equal amount of sugar, which translates to a full cup, a healthy splash of vanilla, the salt of pastry, and 8 ounces of chocolate. Now you can't melt chocolate directly over a flame. The heat will scorch and burn it. Instead, you need a water bath. That simmering water and this glass bowl will insulate the chocolate from the direct heat of the flame. Chocolate may seem hard and strong, but it's actually quite delicate. It's a fascinating world, chocolate. Here's the best news I've heard in years. Chocolate is good for you. Hallelujah. The key is cocoa powder. Chocolate is made by grinding the cacao bean into 2 basic parts: flavorful, nutrient-rich cocoa powder and flavorless cocoa butter. Add some sugar, and you've got my favorite, bittersweet or dark chocolate. Add some milk fat solids, and you've got, you guessed it, milk chocolate. Now take away that cocoa powder, and you've got white chocolate, which really doesn't have any flavor at all. Not all chocolates are created equal. Chocolate is so good not just because of its flavor, but also because it melts in your mouth. That means it's very, very delicate. You've got to treat it gently. So be nice to the world's most popular flavor, and it'll love you back. I'm stirring the brownie batter because if I was whisking it, I'd be whipping all kinds of air into it and I'd end up with a cakey brownie. That's not what I want. I want a rich, moist, fudgy brownie. That's also why I melted the butter and sugar. There's actually quite a bit of science going on in here. If I had whipped the butter and sugar, that too would have added air to the batter. And once that chocolate is nice and smooth, you're ready to move it on. Next up, 4 eggs. Now the eggs, in fact, all the ingredients have a very specific role to play. The eggs are going to set with the sugar in the heat of the oven and form a very strong web that holds all the other ingredients in tight suspension. Just stir those in as well. And now the dry ingredients. First up, 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Also, cocoa. Just going to put a heaping spoonful in. I'm going to put 2 heaping spoonfuls in. And a little bit of baking powder too. Also, walnuts. Now these of course are purely optional. I just happen to like walnuts. Now there is one more important ingredient. Just the slightest little bit of salt. Now at this point, I'm just stirring this long enough to combine everything nice and smooth. Because the flour's in there, I don't want to overmix it. I'll end up with a real strong bready sort of brownie, not what I'm looking for. That should do it right there. Now, check out the pan. I've already buttered it a little bit. Now I'm going to add just a touch of flour, and by doing that, I'm simply going to keep the batter from sticking. So just shake that around a little bit, make sure I've got every edge covered. Now I've already preheated the oven to 350 degrees. You don't want to bake brownies off in a very, very hot oven. The eggs will souffle, the brownie will puff up and then it'll fall down again. Not what I'm looking for. But there is one part about making brownies that I don't like at all. Waiting for them to bake. That's okay. Lots of time to lick the spoon. Tonight, Gabe's best friend Sophia and her mom are coming for dinner, so I'm cooking up some old favorites with some new flavors, and I'm keeping track in my kitchen journal just in case I stumble onto something worth making again. On the menu, juicy chicken thighs. First I browned them, then added mushrooms, onions, red wine, and a bay leaf to the pan. They're all simmering away, getting to know each other. Let's see how they're doing. Ah, looking good. Nice and tender. They're basically ready to eat, but you know, there's a lot of liquid left in there. At this point, I've got some options. I can reduce that down a little bit more. Just turn the heat up for a few seconds. Or, of course, you could eat it just the way it is, because either way, it's going to taste great. And either way, I'm going to need something to soak those flavors up, and I know just the thing. Mashed potatoes, another one of Gabe's favorites, and one of Daddy's favorites, because every time I make these, I put a different flavor in them, which is easy. They're perfect for experimenting. Hey, around here, everything from olive oil to different cheeses, some different spices, even ketchup has shown up in the spuds. Gabe loves it. He likes them no matter what I do. He believes they're supposed to taste different every time, which I think is great. He's learning to have an open mind about food. I prefer to steam potatoes if I'm going to mash them. I don't like boiling them. That should do it. Now there's lots of different types of steamers out there, but this is one of the easiest and most affordable. You just drop it in. They're designed to keep whatever you're steaming above the boiling water. Now, to get those potatoes in there, it's always a good idea to cut them up a bit. Don't just toss them in whole. I'm simply going to cut them in half, and that basically opens up more surface area. It makes them easier to steam. And of course, for the steamer to work, it needs a lid. I need something to mash into those potatoes. You probably thought I was going to go for the milk or cream. Actually, I did too. But hey, chicken stock is a lighter choice. It's got lots of flavor and very little fat. But you know, I'm still going to need to heat it up to get it ready to mash into those potatoes. The last thing I want to do is put a cold liquid into mashed potatoes. It just makes them all gummy and gluey. How are those potatoes doing? Steaming nicely. Now you know they're done when they're tender. Just poke something into them. And if you meet any resistance, they're not done yet. Those need some more time. Actually, it's also time to check on those brownies. Oh yeah, these look done. You could bake them for a few more minutes if you prefer a drier texture, but I like mine rich and moist. Now the kids are going to need something to wash this down, and I've got just the thing. Some milk, chocolate milk. This is my homemade chocolate syrup. I use it on ice cream. It's perfect to make chocolate milk with, and it's so simple to make. Begin with a can of unsweetened evaporated milk. Pour it into a small pot. Add 2 large handfuls of chocolate chips and a large heaping spoonful each of cocoa powder and brown sugar. Sprinkle in a few drops of vanilla extract and whisk over a low heat until melted and smooth. Refrigerate until needed. Looks like I'm gonna score some brownie points tonight. Plus, dinner's shaping up nicely. That broth is reducing, this broth is heating through. Those potatoes are almost done. How about a treat for my good behavior? Looks like I may even be up for best dad on the block this week. Few finishing touches and dinner will be ready. I'm going to cook off some asparagus because both the kids love green vegetables. And to do that, I've got some butter already melted. I'll simply squeeze some lemon juice in there. There we go. Okay, time for those mashed potatoes. Here's some chicken broth. Just mash those down. Now, I've learned a lot in my career. I've cooked all over the world. I've met all kinds of people, worked under all kinds of great chefs. But there's a couple of lessons that I've learned about plating, especially when you're serving food to kids. Because whatever you do you ever even remotely consider the possibility of letting the food touch each other? Very important. But for the adults, no problem. All these flavors are meant to go together. There we go. Okay. Boy, this chicken smells great. And the potatoes? It's going to be interesting to see who likes these more, the adults or the kids. I know I'll be eating my fair share. Roast chicken thighs with mushroom jus. Oh, talk about tasty. And speaking of a taste, rich and meaty. Boy, those mushrooms really punch it up in there. That earthy flavor's coming through strong. Not bad for a chicken thigh and 4 other ingredients: mushrooms, onions, red wine, and chicken broth. You know, cooking is more than just a way to feed your family. It's a way to open their minds to all the variety out there that makes life so exciting. And for that, I don't need a recipe, and neither do you. Just simple techniques, great ingredients, and an understanding that nobody knows your family better than you do. You can sit next to Sophia.
Taste Michael's potatoes. What do you think?
The handle bones are still there.
You have a big girl cup.
Really good.
Good boy. And put some mushrooms on Mommy's plate.
So what's your favorite food, Sophia?
Asparagus.
Ooh, I think he likes the brownie. Now I wonder how that asparagus ended up in the chocolate milk.
Aww.
Thank you.
You're welcome.